Hi, good evening, and welcome back to part three of DWPCorruption.co.uk. With me again, I've got Maurice from the DeadBeatDadsAssociation. Maurice, another couple of questions for you, mate. One of the questions that we've been asked to ask you is that about the understanding level from the CSA in terms of divorce with one-parent families. How do you find these people treat people, and how do they treat you as an organisation?
Well, as an organisation, they treat us very, very cautiously because they know we record the conversations, they know we're caught not lying, and there's no way for them to get out of it. Getting back to how they deal with people, it states on their website, they're very understanding during the time of divorce. They're not understanding at all because at the end of the day, society expects the man to move out of the matrimonial home to sort of pay off the mortgage, and then it means that he has to then go and start again from scratch. So he's starting like a new mortgage, which means like nowadays mortgage rates have gone up, price of houses have gone up, and so basically like I said, the father is starting again from scratch. So the father actually has a higher outlay of money than what the parent care has, and now the CSA are coming in now, actually the issuing these imaginary arrears, and they're just not following their own procedure. Most of the delays with the CSA was caused through the CSA, and there's nothing to do with the non-resident parent, i.e. the father. So basically, the father is now having to start again from scratch. He's now got the CSA on his back demanding all these thousands of pounds of arrears, and basically he just can't start again. To get himself back.
I think the word bias comes into this, doesn't it? So they're certainly biased to the one-parent families, be it the father or the mother. I know he works in both situations, but mainly the father.
Yeah. Well, I mean, regarding the being biased, all the mother has to do is contact the CSA. They only need to know a gentleman's national insurance number, his national insurance number. They just need to know his name, his address, mainly where he works, and that's all the CSA needs to know. We do know of one gentleman who never had a relationship with a woman. He got his wage packet one day and he's £500 short. So he contacted his payroll department. He said the CSA had been in touch with him and they were instructed to remove this money from his wages. He never had a relationship with a woman, so he's never had any children. That gentleman then had to go out and pay £300 to have a DNA test done to prove that he wasn't the father. Now, the thing is, if you haven't got that type of money, say if you didn't have £300 to spare, you'd still been carrying on paying the child support.
Like we've already spoke about earlier on, then I suppose these fathers are summoned into court, and with the corrupt judicial system that we've experienced already, with common purpose and the non-help from the MPs, where does it leave these people?
Well, it leaves most of them on the poverty line. They've basically been living in a one-bedroom flat because that's all they can afford, and then not placed straight into the hands of the parent of care because she turns to say, well, you're not seeing your children because the accommodation you have is not suitable for your children to come and stay. So he's just been gradually and slowly moved down, to a one-bedroom flat, and he's just been driven into poverty. And then the next thing they got is just to commit suicide. I say the CSA, Stephen George, if you're listening out there, and you are responsible for 61 fathers' deaths. How do you live with yourself? You're supposed to be protecting the people of this country, and you're not. 61 fathers have taken their lives because of this child support agency. Is that fair? Do you think that's acceptable? Because we don't.
I think it all boils down to the dealings then with the Secretary of State, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because these people are obviously influenced by the Secretary of State. The guidelines that they're given are corrupt in the first place. How on earth can people get justice? How can people have a fair crack of the whip?
Well, the thing is, a lot of people, when they go into court, they look at the magistrates and they feel intimidated by the magistrates. What you've got to go in there and you've got to stand your ground with the magistrate. And even though the Secretary of State tries to abuse certain parts of the law to suit themselves, you've got to stand your ground and say, no, you have not filled that criteria in that Child Support Act. So therefore, you should not be granting liability orders. So I mean, many times we've gone into court representing fathers, as I've said before, and let's say they have to provide proof to the magistrate that a debt is owing or payments are being missed, the Secretary of State are not providing that proof, and the magistrates are granting these liability orders. So, in all fairness, the magistrates are actually perverting the course of justice. And it wasn't until one case when we actually came off the court, we were actually approached by an usher, because we couldn't believe the outcome of the case. You know, even though the Secretary of State had not followed the procedure, but the magistrate still granted the liability order, we were told that the Magistrates Court services are being told that when a liability order comes into court for the Secretary of State, the liability order has to be granted whether any evidence is shown or not. You know, that is perverting the course of justice, and the father is not getting the correct justice deal.
Well, sure, this has got to be against a person's human rights.
Well, yes,
they're not getting a fair hearing.
Well, your human rights are eroded right from day one when the CSA get involved. I mean, we let you listen to the recording of my first initial phone call, which the disc was supplied to by the CSA, and she told us that she's ringing up from the Department for Work and Pension. She's not from the Department for Work and Pension, she was from the Child Support Agency. The Child Support Agency is part of the Department for Work and Pensions, and that's what she should have said she was ringing from, the Child Support Agency. Then she goes on to ask me for my national insurance number, date of birth, and where I live. Now, the thing is, she couldn't prove who she was on the end of the phone.
So it's a data protection breach.
She breached the Data Protection Act. But you mentioned this, and oh no, we prefer to do things over the phone because it speeds things up. But the minute you catch these people out lying, which is what we've done on our website, you know, we've caught a data enforcement officer lying, we've caught a caseworker lying about laws, acts, and legislations. The minute you cast them out lying, we don't want to speak to you on the phone. Your correspondence only. When you send your correspondence in to them, they won't respond to your correspondence. So when you ring them up, let's say we have a phone call on our website where we have actually explained to the caseworker, yes, I'm on correspondence only. When I send the correspondence in, you're not responding to it. So what am I supposed to do? Oh, write in again. Now, when you write in, what we recommend to everybody when you write into these people is send it in special delivery, so they can't deny they haven't received it. Right? So, but again, this costs you extra money. And it's extra money which you can't afford.
This is just the merry-go-round from hell, you know, because you're being pushed from pillar and post by department to department. You're not getting answers to your questions. The people are so frustrated that they don't know what to do next. And, you know, this is why they're forced to go to solicitors at charge, like we've already spoke about with Sherri, £500 a time. Half the time the solicitors are corrupt with common purpose. They get the wrong advice. And the legislation in government is totally corrupt, and these people treat the public as though they're stupid. So, you know, all we can do is keep exposing the activities of government on films like we're doing today, and, you know, take every day as it comes, and just hope that the legislation changes, or hope that Gordon Brown has got a conscience, like you've just been saying about these fathers that have committed suicide. Is it any wonder the state that the country's in?
Well, yes. I mean, the thing is with the magistrates, you know, you mentioned to the magistrates, well, you haven't adhered to Section 33 of the Child Support Act, right? But because we turn and say, well, hang on, isn't this a breach of our human rights? You know, are we innocent until proven guilty? They then turn and say, well, it's a civil matter, not a criminal matter. However, if you don't pay your child support maintenance, you go to prison. So is it a criminal or is it a civil matter? They can't seem to make the mind up.
Well, from my own point of view, if I was in this situation, I would just stop paying. Because what are you paying the money for? Well, it's going into a corrupt pot.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can't stop paying. This is why they use this new system now, where they just want the first initial port of call is deduction from the earnings order. And what we have found is, what they're doing with the fathers who are paying the direct debit standing order by check, they're issuing these imaginary arrears. When the father rings up to question the arrears, he's then told his caseworker isn't in, ring back tomorrow, or they're told, well, we'll ring you back, leave your number, we'll call you back. The CSA never ring you back. And what they'll then do is they'll drag this out for over 3 or 4 weeks, and then they'll just issue the deduction of earnings order to your employer.
Right. Well, as you can see, we're coming to the close of the video. This is the third of its kind, talking about the CSA and the corruption, and we wish you good night. Take care.